Hey everyone, this is Michelle over here at Bunebape, and today we are going to be going over everything we know so far about Deadman Apocalypse. To anyone who has been living under a rock or somehow not heard about it, DMM is making a comeback and is scheduled to arrive late this summer. If you're unfamiliar, Deadman mode is a seasonal game mode on a separate server where PvP is active nearly everywhere, XP rates are boosted, loot is more plentiful, and there's a chance of you dying at any time and losing everything you worked so hard for. The ultimate goal of DMM is to get your account as strong as possible for a few weeks and in the end become the last man standing. Before starting in on the notes, I do want to make it clear that this is the first blog posted for Deadman Apocalypse, and therefore all of this is open to change depending on the community's feedback. So if there's anything you don't want to see, be sure to take the survey at the end of their blog post. So, what is Deadman Apocalypse? The Wizard's Tower report disturbances in the Abyss. Missing persons reports are on the rise, and citizens all over the world are claiming to have seen monsters, the kinds you only hear of in stories or beer-fueled tales of bravado, stalking the shadows. Every day, at regular intervals, breaches appear around Gilnor. Think of a breach like a tear or a gap in Gilnor's reality. Breaches can crop up in any dangerous area in the world, meaning anywhere that PvP is enabled, and will spawn in both single and multi-combat locations simultaneously. Once the breach appears, boss monsters will begin pouring through and into the real world. The likes of General Grardor, the King Black Dragon, or even Tiztok Jad might find themselves wreaking havoc on Barbarian Village or skulking the wilderness north of the GE. It's up to you to get to these breaches and put these monsters down. Output enough damage and you'll earn yourself the chance at scoring some exclusive, extremely powerful loot along with vast quantities of regular loot. So it's in your best interest to gear up and get blasting those bosses, or to put other players in the dirt to improve your odds at coming out on top. While these regular breaches certainly need tending to, they're more manageable for large groups of adventurers. Alarmingly, the Doomsayer believes that there will come a time when these breaches burst into being all across Gilnor, with absolutely no sign of stopping. With annihilation seemingly inevitable, it's up to you to do everything in your power to go down the history books. Your goal is to be the last adventurer standing at the end of all things. So a little bit of a too long didn't listen if you didn't quite catch on to all of that dramatic lore that they posted. Multiple times a day, breaches will appear in the world. When you head over there, you fight bosses for a chance of receiving powerful loot. You can also fight players to get rid of competition and ensure that you are dealing more damage to the boss than other people. At the finale, breaches will appear all over the world and monsters will take over Gilnor. Fog will slowly surround players and force them to a final area. In this final area, fight bosses and other players until you are the final player standing. This Deadman mode is a bit different from those in the past, as they're moving away from the competitive 1v1 style finale and instead focusing on more random encounters with tons of participants. They do clarify though that this does not mean that 1v1 finales are gone forever, but for this season at least, they're going to be trying out something new. When you're not at breaches or in the finale, you'll be progressing your account by earning XP, getting loot, eliminating other players, and unlocking sigils. A fair bit of this Deadman will be familiar if you played a Deadman mode in the past, starting out with Combat Bracket Worlds. Combat Bracket Worlds work to keep fights fair between players, so you don't have, for example, a level 15 player fighting a level 102 player. They say in the notes, combat brackets let you tailor your Deadman experience a little more by giving you the options to optimize your build for certain brackets, or improving replayability for those of you who'd like to make several builds and try to dominate multiple brackets. These separate bracket worlds also make it so if you're not able to put in the most hours because of real life getting in the way, you'll be around those with similar levels rather than being forced to be around people speedrunning max combat as fast as they can. Combat bracket worlds were used in the last DMM, but the team overall felt that they were a bit too broad with only 4 brackets last time, so this time around there will be 5 of them. Level 3 to 50, 51 to 70, 71 to 90, 91 to 110, and finally 111 to 126. I'll be getting into each of these brackets in a little more detail soon, but first we're going to talk about increased XP rates and quest unlocks. Boosted XP is a staple of DMM and necessary to help progress your character through this fast-paced temporary game mode. As your character levels into higher tier combat brackets, your XP rates will also be increased. So, if you want to level faster, you're going to need to raise that combat level. Quest unlocks are another thing being brought back from past Deadman modes. This time around, quests are going to be auto-completed as you level up to new combat brackets, so that way you can just focus on earning points, which we will get to later. Finally, moving on to starter packs. Starter packs are great for players just beginning their DMM journey, or for those who have recently died on their account. The packs kit you out with some basic gear and consumables to help get you back on your feet. The starter packs are automatically placed in your inventory when you spawn into Lumbridge, so you don't have to worry about going and finding them yourself. Okay, so now that we have all that general information out of the way, we are going to get into the details about what to expect in each combat bracket. starting out with level 3 to 50. In this bracket, you will have a 10-time XP multiplier for both combat and skilling. You'll also get a starter pack containing a Fire Staff, runes for Fire Strike, Willow Shortbow, Bronze Arrows, and a Mithril Scimitar. While in this bracket, all Zaya House favor will be set to 100%. Additionally, you will have all of these quests auto-completed. Ernest the Chicken, Goblin Diplomacy, Rune Mysteries, Black Knight's Fortress, Shield of Arav, Druidic Ritual, Recipe for Disaster, Mountain Dwarf, Goblin General, Pirate Pete, Lumberjag Guide, and Evil Dave's subquest, The Restless Ghost, Priest in Peril, Animal Magnetism, Plague City, Prince Ali Rescue, and Death Plateau. You also will unlock Biohazard, which will unlock the ability to tele to Artie without you needing to go and get the scroll at the end of the quest. As well as all the quests, you will be getting level 3 Herblore with this bracket as well. The next bracket is level 51 to 70. In this tier, you'll still be receiving 10 times XP in both combat and skilling, as well as a starter pack containing a Fire Staff, runes for Fire Blast, a Maple Shortbow, Mithril Arrows, and an Adamant Scimitar. As far as quest goes, you'll have automatically finished Tree Gnome Village, Big Chompy Bird Hunting, the Ogre subquest for Recipe for Disaster, Lost City, Underground Pass, and you will also unlock the Bigger and Badder Slayer perk. For level 71 to 90, you'll finally start to see an increase in XP multipliers, with 15% the combat XP gained, although skilling still remains at 10 times XP. In your starter pack, you will receive the same items once again: Fire Staff, runes for Fire Blast, a Maple Shortbow, Mithril Arrows, and an Adamant Scimitar. But you'll have quite a few more quests auto-completed this time, with Monkey Madness, Dig Site, Temple of Ikov, Waterfall Quest, Tourist Trap, Troll Stronghold, Desert Treasure, Merlin's Crystal, Hero's Quest, Grand Tree, Sir Amic Vars, and the Monkey subquest for Recipe for Disaster, Watchtower, The Eyes of Gluffery, Dragon Slayer, Monkey Madness 2, The Firminic Trials, Making History, Regicide, Roving Elves, Sheep Herder, Morning's End Part 1 and 2, and Song of the Elves. You are also going to unlock Enlightened Journey, but the balloon flight route to the Gnome Stronghold still has to be unlocked by yourself. Level 91 to 110, we again are going to be getting that 15 times combat XP and 10 times skilling XP. This bracket's starting pack will contain a Fire Staff, runes for Fire Wave, a Yew Shortbow, Adamant Arrows, and a Rune Scimitar. In addition, you have auto-completed X Marks the Spot, Clan de Corinne, Bon Voyage, Ghost Ahoy, Gertrude's Cat, Ichthorin's Little Helper, A Tale of Two Cats, Edgar's Ruse, Jungle Potion, Shiloh Village, Lunar Diplomacy, Dream Mentor, Family Crest, Legends Quest, the entirety of the Recipe for Disaster, Holy Grail, Murder Mystery, King's Ransom, Contact, Beneath Cursed Sands, Nature Spirit, In Search of the Myrique, In Aid of the Myrique, Darkness of the Hallowvale, A Taste of Hope, and A Night at the Theater. They also have on this list Dragon Slayer 2, do not autocomplete, so I'm not quite sure what aspects of that you are going to have to go and complete yourself to finish, but I'm assuming that you will be able to complete it to get to Vorkath. Lastly, level 111 to 126 will give you the exact same XP multipliers and starter pack as the bracket before. So as a reminder, that's 15 times combat XP, 10 times skilling XP, as well as the starter pack having a Fire Staff, runes for Fire Wave, a Yew Shortbow, Adamant Arrows, and a Rune Scimitar. This final bracket will auto-complete some more quests for you, including Haziel Cult, Enter the Abyss, Dork's Quest, The Lost Tribe, Recruitment Drive, Wanted, Devious Minds, Fight Arena, The General Shadow, Romeo and Juliet, Cold War, Creatures of Finkenstrain, Garden of Tranquility, One Small Favor, Swan Song, The Feud, My Arm's Big Adventure, and Making Friends with My Arm. Now, if you're like me and wondering what's the point of these starter packs if I just run out of my lives and have to start over, they actually decided this time around to do away with the 3 life and you're out system, and instead they'll be punishing death by losing your items as well as the key to your most valuable bank slots, unless you are using a special sigil to prevent this. With that easy segue, let's move straight on to sigils. So sigils were actually first introduced in Deadman Reborn and work to provide powerful buffs. They can be dropped from monsters or bought via the Grand Exchange. Much like the last DMM, you will once again choose a starting combat sigil to get familiar with the system and learn how to activate them. As you get used to sigils and move along, you can obtain more to give yourself the most options along your DMM journey. Keep in mind though that you can only have 3 sigils active at any one time though, so it's not too busted. Sigils are split into 3 categories: combat, skilling, and utility. To activate the benefits of your sigils, you must attune them at a bank. Unlike the last DMM, you will no longer be limited to only 2 combat sigils at a time, meaning you can mix it up and have 0 up to 3 only combat sigils activated at a time. As your character goes through the combat brackets, your chances of getting sigil drops will increase, though they'll still be getting adjusted as needed to make sure that there aren't any metas that become too good. There will be tons of sigil drops, and they will all come in 3 tiers. Some sigils from the last DMM have been brought back, but will be changed up a little to make them more useful, while some that were too disruptive have been removed. As part of the rebalancing, some utility sigils are instead going to become utility items. These items will be attained in the exact same way, but you will use them from your inventory and they will not take up a sigil slot. So they have some ideas for the utility items, including Utility of Vengeance, which would be tier 2. This would cast the Vengeance spell without any requirements. There would be a 30-second cooldown on this. Utility of the Undead, which would also be tier 2. This would summon a random thrall without any requirements and would again have a 30-second cooldown. Utility of the Fairy, tier 2. Gives the player a fairy mushroom, which allows players to teleport to any fairy ring or spirit tree, provided they can access the destination. Utility of High Alchemy, tier 2. Acts exactly how clicking on the High Alchemy spell does, however does not require any runes. Utility of Advanced Weaponry, tier 3. Gives the player a random blighted weapon, but is lost upon activation. The blog goes on to acknowledge requests from players to reset the permanent Deadman mode world, as newer players can't really catch up to players who have been in this world. But they're hesitant to do this, as the players that have been on it have been progressing on it for years under the assumption that it will always be there. Instead, they have suggested a merge. They say in the blog, "We're proposing a middle ground for this seasonal Deadman and future seasonals. We'd like for players to have the option to play Deadman Apocalypse and then merge their account into the permanent Deadman mode world." We understand that there's a pretty big difference in how Apocalypse will function compared to how World 345 functions, but we feel that this is an exciting opportunity to boost activity and the economy, which would hopefully impact World 345 positively. This means that next time a seasonal rolls around, you could start fresh on your current character or preserve that progress and play the season on another character, to be merged down at the season's end if you wish. As with everything I'm mentioning, again, they would really like feedback on this idea, so of course reach out to the team and let them know what you think on their socials. With that, let's move on to Blighted Weapons. Blighted Weapons would potentially be obtained via the utility of Advanced Weaponry I mentioned earlier. Using this, you'll receive a random blighted weapon. You could receive blighted versions of items such as the T-bow, D-claws, or even a shadow if you get lucky enough. But keep in mind that these blighted weapons will not be brought over to the DMM world after the season ends if you decide to merge. Of course, you can bring over the original items if you happen to get them. It's just that the blighted version specifically will not be carried over. This is to avoid completely flooding the permanent world's economy with endgame items. Next up, I'm going to be talking about the point system. Deadman Apocalypse will be following a little bit in the footsteps of Fresh Start Worlds with a point system added to the game mode. As you'll constantly be under threat in this fast-paced seasonal game, you'll need to earn points any way that you can. Clue scrolls, combat achievements, achievement diaries, pet hunting, quest points, boss kills, skilling, and PvP will all earn you points to some degree. While they don't get into the specifics of how much points everything will be worth yet, the blog stresses that you will basically always be rewarded with points as you progress. The blog did share, though, that more than anything else, one of the best ways to earn points will be by contributing at breaches. This, along with the loot from events, really incentivizes you to take part in any breaches that you possibly can. The blog even gives an idea on farming points in the notes, saying, perhaps you and a group of friends find a way to earn points rapidly and take it upon yourself to hold the content down. Then word spreads and you're competing with other teams or clans, then the spot becomes a war zone and you've got to weigh competing or innovating another method. Work together to come out on top or go at it alone and see how you stack up versus organized groups and clans. As a reminder, breaches will appear in both single and multi-way combat areas at the same time, so you'll be able to adjust your point farming strategies as needed depending if you're playing solo or with a group. You'll be able to check your points earned anytime in-game and on the high scores, which will be split into tiers, similar to how it was in leagues. The higher the tier, the better chance you have of earning a reward from the Deadman prize pool. Like I mentioned earlier, this year will not end with the 1v1 finale, but that doesn't mean that there won't still be a fight until one player's left standing. This iteration of Deadman mode will again have a $25,000 prize pool, but it's going to be split up differently than last time. $500 will go to whoever dealt the most damage to bosses during the finale on each of the 5 worlds, totaling $2,500. $500 will go to the last surviving players at the end of the finale on each of the 5 worlds, totaling again $2,500. The remaining $20,000 will be split into 40 prizes worth $500 each and distributed among players who achieve the highest point tiers. So let's take a closer look at the $20,000 split and how it will be distributed among the different tiers. Apocalypse Bronze, which is the top 100%, will not receive any prizes. Neither will Iron, top 80%, Steel, top 60%, or Mithril, top 40%. You will start earning rewards at Apocalypse Adamant, the top 20%. 8 randomly selected winners in Adamant tier will get $500 each. Rune, the top 5%, 12 randomly selected winners will get $500 each. Dragon, top 1%, 15 randomly selected winners will get $500 each. And finally, the top 25, 5 randomly selected winners will get $500 each. The team also says that perhaps they'll even do a raffle stream during the finale as they pick out the winners, so potentially even more prizes. This way of giving out prize money is a bit more of a gamble in my mind, as you could be in the top 25 and still not receive any money, but overall I do think it sounds more exciting, and I bet that it will incentivize more players to grind and try at least to get into the Adamant tier by the end. So let's do a quick recap of the notes for those who understandably did not want to watch this whole video. Deadman Apocalypse is a brand new Deadman seasonal, which pits adventurers against hordes of bosses and each other in brutal breaches and unpredictable PvP combat. Play your way and earn points in a brand new achievement system, where you're rewarded for progressing however you please. Progress through the higher combat bracket worlds at increased XP rates for increased rewards and automatic quest unlocks, or stick to a limited build and become infamous by dominating a lower bracket. Death is not the end. We've removed the 3-life system and introduced improved starter packs to help you back on your feet no matter which combat bracket you're in. Defeat NPCs or trade with other players via the GE to earn powerful sigils. Sigils provide game-changing effects to combat, scaling, and/or utility to allow you to customize your loadout to experience familiar content in fresh ways. Keep an eye out for breaches and put a stop to hordes of bosses making their way into Gildor. Will you take out the bosses for points and incredible loot, or take out other players at the breach for their loot instead? Wrestle with mortality and fight to become the last player standing at the end of the world, as a deadly fog and endless streams of monsters force adventurers to make their final stand against oblivion. Win real-life cash prizes for being the last survivor, dealing the most damage during the finale, or being entered into raffles depending on how many points you earned. The world literally ends, there's no escaping it. Lucky for you, your character will be merged into the permanent Deadman world, World 345, and able to participate in a permanent DMM Renaissance or wait it out until the next DMM seasonal. They have also confirmed that this game mode will be arriving in just 2 months, so not the long wait that we can usually expect for big updates like this. That is going to be it for this video. If you have any ideas or concerns about Deadman Apocalypse, make sure to reach out to the team and to check out the blog post about it, and maybe even take the survey to let your thoughts be known. Let me know down in the comments if you found this video to be helpful, and if you're also really looking forward to this game mode. If you like this video, be sure to leave it a like and subscribe to our channel. You can also catch me live on Twitch 5 days a week at twitch.tv/Bunebape, and every Thursday on the OSRS podcast I co-host, also called Bunebape, which can be found on this channel or wherever you get your podcast. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.